Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP Talk Show, Season 8, Episode 13, overall 398, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. As always, Live with CDP Sports Talk, an entertainment talk show, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern talk and sports. Good morning, everyone, on this, I can't believe it's already Thursday, May 16th, 2024. May's already half over. Before we get to our guest today, we got some special news, some sad news coming out of Toronto. Longtime TSN sports anchor and reporter Darren Detition has passed away at the age of 57. And Darren, a native of Regina, Saskatchewan, joined TSN back in 1995, and he was well beloved by all his colleagues and co-workers over the years. And it's just sad news about Darren Detition, passed away at the age of 57. All right, guys, I'm looking forward to my show today. This is her first appearance on our show, and her name is Susan Rose. She is a longtime radio personality in Buffalo, New York with WBEN 930, and she's currently the co-anchor of WBEN's new morning show, weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., and she's been waking up Western New Yorkers for over 2 decades on the radio, and I'm excited to have Susan Rose as our guest today. Good afternoon, Susan. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris. Great to be with you.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. How are things in Buffalo right now?
Actually, it's a beautiful day in Buffalo. It's one of those absolutely gorgeous spring days that we don't get enough of, but we'll take it.
As long as there's no humidity, I don't mind it. I'm not a fan of humidity anymore.
I'm not either, and this is like a 10 out of 10. You and I would both love this day.
So how was your morning show this morning? And you start 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. So what time do you have to get up in the morning and get to the station by?
You know, I get up at 3 every day, and I get to the station right around 4:10, and start prepping for the show. And, you know, I've been doing it for a long time with my co-host, Brian Mazurowski, and, you know, we kind of got it down to a routine. So it seems early. I mean, it is early, let's face it. But the benefit is, you know, I'm done, you know, by 11 or 12 each day, and then I can go about, you know, my other life.
Absolutely. And you've been with WBEN since, 1986, which is just amazing.
You know what, it's like unheard of to be with one station for that long. But, you know, I interned here when I was in college, and when an opportunity came up shortly after, I came aboard. I was doing the traffic copter I started doing the traffic copter, then I got into the newsroom, and, you know, now I'm hosting a morning show. So it's paid off for me all those years. But I got to work with some real legends in this business too, which has been amazing.
I was going to ask you, have you ever thought about in the future maybe writing a book about your radio career?
You know, I haven't thought about it, but who knows, that I could maybe someday, because, you know, there's so many things happen when you're in this kind of business, you know, the good things and bad things. You know, let's face it, a lot of news is not good, but, you know, that might be something I'd think about. There's just no time right now, you know.
And you've seen so many changes to the radio industry starting out in the 80s to now as well.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when I started out, I had a brick cell phone. Do you even remember those bricks? They were those.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it was this crazy big cell phone with this big antenna on it. I mean, that was crazy. We didn't have fax machines. We didn't have email when I started. I mean, that's how much has changed in this business. It's really been unbelievable. There were wire machines that were in the newsroom back when I started. You'd always hear that click, click, click of a wire machine constantly going. And, we were using reel-to-reel tape decks too. Nothing was digital, and it's so different. It's like revolutionary.
Well, I just started a new career in the radio 4.5 years ago, and the reason I've been able to do it is because of this technology and social media as well.
Oh, you were telling me, where you are broadcasting for, which is a station in Georgia, but you're up in Guelph, Canada,
yeah,
Ontario.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But the technology now, you can be anywhere and doing your shows.
Absolutely. But I'll be honest, Susan, I do this show virtually, which I love, but I also now do live in-person interviews, Susan, and there's nothing better than being around crowds live or interviewing someone face to face. Just like I really enjoyed your interview recently with longtime Buffalo Bills broadcaster and Buffalo broadcaster John Murphy.
Yeah, for sure. There is nothing like that face-to-face, one-on-one interview. And in John's case, I mean, I was completely honored that he picked me to do the interview, to announce that he is stepping down. And, I go back with Murph decades, really. When I started at WBEN, John Murphy was in the newsroom. He wasn't doing sports at the time. He was actually doing news. And he was really, to me, one of the legends of that newsroom. They all had just incredible presence, and just, I looked at all of them as mentors, really. So then I followed John. I mean, he left the newsroom, went into sports because of a guy named Stan Barron, who used to do sports on WBEN, long time ago. Stan passed, and One-on-One Sports was born. It was a nighttime talk show on WBEN that John Murphy hosted. And I have to say, it was like must listen to radio at the time. He had so many guests on. I feel like he was on for 4 or 5 hours a night. And you didn't want to miss a show with Murph. He had great guests. He had great questions. He knew everything about, whether it was baseball, football, basketball, you name it. He was all over it. And, from there, he went to TV. Then he joined Van Miller in the broadcast booth. And I mean, Van and John were incredible together. They really were. And, then everybody thought, well, when Van passed away, I mean, it was a natural for John to take over in that play-by-play role. But, that's a tough role to step into. I mean, Van was a legend, but John he was every much of a legend as Van, I think. He put his own, spin on things, did it his own way. And I mean, you listen to those play-by-play calls from some Bills games, and he was amazing. He was absolutely amazing. And it was really so unfortunate what happened to him when he suffered a stroke, and it was New Year's Day of 2023 that really changed his life. And it's taking this long. He continues to be in therapy, speech therapy. He's working out. He's lost 70 pounds. I mean, Murph looks great. I saw him in the Bills broadcast booth because he would go last season, even though he wasn't doing the games. Chris Brown was doing the games. And, it's tough to see him there, but he wanted to be there. And I hope he continues to be there, because it's always great to see Murph. And he's just such a nice guy. So I'm hoping in some way, because he told me in that interview that he would like to contribute somehow in the future. He doesn't really know how yet, but he'd like that. And so he's kind of leaving that door open. He's not completely retiring. He's leaving that door open a little bit. And I hope the Bills and the radio station, find a role for him, because I do think he has a lot to contribute.
Absolutely. And Dan, when I started this show a couple years ago, I reached out to John Murphy. I figured I wouldn't get a response or no thanks or whatever. And he was kind enough to come on my show and talk to me for 45 minutes. And he really opened up to me when I asked him. I talked to him about Ernie Harwell, the late, great Detroit Tigers broadcast. And John just opened up with me. And sometimes with your guests, sometimes they can be a little cold, not cold with you, but once you open up a subject with a guest, they can just open up with you. And I was very lucky to have him on my show 3.5 years ago.
Oh, that's great that you did. And I saw that you did too, because I saw that on social media. And I mean, John's just a great guy to talk to. And he also happens to be a neighbor of mine. He lives in my neighborhood. I mean, not that I see him very much in the neighborhood, but he's just, you talk about people who you could very much approach, right? He is one of those people. He absolutely is. Even today, I mean, even after what's happened to him, if you saw him somewhere, high five him, or he'd do the same for you.
Even though I'm not a Bills fan, I'm an Eagles fan. John was great to talk to, and I've been really lucky. A lot of your city, a lot of the media in your city have been really great with me. The guys from WGR, Stu Boyer, Kelly Dudzik from WGRZ, Samantha Kreisman from the Buffalo News has come on, and Bud Bailey, I befriended him through the Buffalo Bandits and the Bisons, and he's quite the character as well.
I love Bud. Yeah, he's a great guy. He was in this business. I mean, he's retired now for a while, but he was working, doing the daily grind like me, way back in the 80s and 90s for sure.
Now, as being a Buffalo sports fan, did you have a particular favorite call of John Murphy?
Oh my gosh. I just heard one that kind of resonates with me. And I forget which game it is. That's the thing about sports people. They can remember certain games against certain teams. They remember plays. Like that to me doesn't stay with me. I don't know. I'm more of a news person than a sports person. But I just heard him. I can't tell you the season it was, but it was when Taron Johnson returned a kick and went all the way down the field. And hearing Murph describe him going all the way, from the 30 to the 25, the 20 to going into the end zone. I mean, it was electrifying to hear him booming with that voice and describing it. And the fans, it was a home game, just went wild for that. But I mean, there's so many good calls from Murph.
And he's just had his new book, Tales from the Buffalo Bills, come out recently too.
He did. And, I said to him, Murph, he's done college basketball. He's done Bison's baseball, obviously the Bills. He's done everything. I said, you're an author too. Do you have any regrets? And he has no regrets. I mean, he has done it all. I think it just maybe ended too soon for him, But like I said, he's still continuing that speech therapy. And who knows? I mean, he is continuing to progress. He's progressed a lot in the past year. Who knows? He very well could be progressing further and could be doing more sports reporting down the road.
Absolutely. And Susan, everyone I talk to on my show, especially in the radio TV industry, one common word I get out of everybody is passion. And it's important to have a passion for what you're doing.
You have to. I mean, you really have to. I can't imagine just, trying to mail it in every day or something. I mean, you've got to be passionate about what you do, and then if you are passionate about it, you can do a better job. You're going to dig further. You're going to write a better story or ask better questions. It's every day is a different day in this business. We interview, we probably had like 6 or 8 live interviews a morning. So
wow.
Yeah. So you're kind of thinking on your feet. But, when you've got somebody coming up, you do a little prep work. I mean, you want to sound, informed and get the most out of that interview. So I am passionate. I really am. I love my job. I really love working here.
I can tell that in my former career, I was in security for 23 and a half years, and I had to deal with all walks of life being in a casino gambling environment. And I think that helped me prepare for this because I had to do a lot of talking. And also, as important as talking is, listening is huge, especially when you're dealing with customers or, in this case, a guest like yourself.
Ah, that is a great background for this. You never know what people do in their, a prior career, right? But somehow that helps you in this business.
And I just believe in hard work, and I have a passion for this, and I love doing this because the storytelling aspect of it, and I learn something every day new as well.
That's kind of how I approach it too. I mean, I feel like I'm still in school in a way, right? We're learning every day, but that's what you want. Yeah.
Just like when I'm at the Bison's games or the Bandits game, Bud usually asks the coaches and players first, and I don't try to be like Bud, but I just try to learn from him, ask him questions, and try to pick people's brains, and then just apply it to myself.
I'm always thinking, what does the listener want to know? If I have a certain guest on, what are they interested in? What should I be asking? It's not all about what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to think for the listener and wonder what they want to know, because that's kind of how you think of your questions.
Absolutely. And when I first started this season, I admit it, I scripted everything, and I had a couple guys on from the NBA, Eric Smith from the Raptors, Chuck Swirsky, and they told me it's okay to write points down and notes and stuff, but talk to your guests like you're having a natural conversation. And I think that I've like what I did with my other career, and I think that's why my interviews are well. And I want my guests to be able to feel comfortable and be able to talk to me and open up with me.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I find like you have to be a good listener. If you're not listening to the person you're interviewing, you're losing the interview, right? I mean, that to me, listening and actually hearing what they're saying is the maybe first quality you need to do the interview. I used to be, way back, very scripted, write down my questions and all that. And then, what you turn out, you're just looking at your questions and you're not even listening to their answers. But if you listen to them, you can come up with better questions along the way. Maybe think about your first question, and then just based on their answers, you come up with a much better interview, especially when you're just thinking on your feet.
Yes, and I realize this too, Susan. I'm doing this the old school, the hard way, way of doing it. But everyone in your profession in TV, radio, have been really supportive of what I'm doing, and I just want to just every day try to get better and better at things.
And you are. And now you came onto my radar last week. I really hadn't seen things from you, and then all of a sudden I noticed that you were liking and retweeting the John Murphy stuff. And then I was kind of looking, who is this guy? And then I'm finding out who you are. And now I guess that's how how you build your fan base, right?
Yes, and it takes a lot of work, and I've also got onto TikTok as well. So I think I've reinvented myself, and just got to constantly try to stay with the trends. And I'm just, like I said, working to get opportunities as well.
I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, but not TikTok. What do you think? Should I go?
I thought the same thing 4 years ago, Susan, because I'm 52, and at the time I was 40. I'm like, now I'm too old for this. This is ridiculous. But one of my friends told me, Chris, join TikTok, and I actually did. It took a while to get my following there, but I learned how to promote myself in promos and my guests and my show on TikTok. I know that sounds crazy, but I learned how to promote myself on that platform, and it's a good tool if you use it the right way.
I can't believe how much and how well you promote yourself. But now I see you everywhere. So you're doing it right.
Hopefully it's not a bad thing. I just try to use social media as a good way, as a good tool.
It's definitely a good thing.
Absolutely. And like I said, I just love talking to guests, and I just really, really enjoy doing this show.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a question. I feel like you're adopted Buffalo as a hometown. you're not really from here, but you're here a lot because you follow a lot of Buffalo sports. And there's a big sports weekend coming up for the Buffalo Bandits. All right, in lacrosse, do you think they go all the way? Do you think they'll repeat back-to-back champs?
You put me on the spot here, but I do think they can. Albany beat them twice in the regular season, opening night and then in February. But I think the Bandits are playing much better lacrosse now. I think Matt Vince is healthy. They've added a couple of veterans to their defense and a faceoff guy in Carnal Farrell and Paul Dawson. And the only concern I have is when you're an athlete in pro sports, it's hard to get that momentum back when there's a 2-week break, because the series last week should have started in Albany, but they had I guess they had some kind of school function there, so they had to wait like 2 weeks to start this series. So I just think the first game is going to be critical, obviously, for both teams. But I do like the Bandits to win this series, but I think it's going to go the full 3 games.
Okay. Well, I do like, I mean, I'm not that big of a fan, but I have been to the arena, and there's nothing like the Bandits with their fans at home. However, I like the Bandits in the underdog role going into Albany. I think they might surprise everybody.
And this is their 5th straight trip to the NLL finals. And this organization, they have so many star players, Susan. But John Tavares, who's like the Wayne Gretzky of lacrosse, he has this mentality. It's not about the star players. It's about the team concept. And I think that's why this team, out of all the Buffalo sports teams, is the most successful, because the star players, it's all about the team concept instead of 1 or 2 individuals. And I think the Bills and the Sabres could learn from the Buffalo Bandits.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And John Gerkler, who's to me, he's a Hall of Fame broadcaster. He came on my show a couple years ago, and I'm still learning about the league and stuff. But John is a great guy. Steve Burmel, and the organization has taken me in as a freelance independent media guy, and it's just been a great experience.
Yeah, I wish them all the best this weekend, and we're actually going to have John Gertler on our show soon.
If you want to promote it, when tomorrow at 7:50, you said?
Friday morning, 7:50. Yeah. If
7:50.
Anyone's up early, we're going to have him on. I'm sure he's probably already in Albany.
Yeah, I think they left today. I'm not sure if they're busing there or they're flying out to Albany.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how they stand after the weekend. But at least hopefully 1 win.
I was going to ask you this, Susan. Are you a huge sports fan since you're in Buffalo?
I am. I'm a big Bills fan and a big Sabres fan. I'm really excited about Lindy Ruff taking over the Sabres. You know, it's been a tough couple of years, at least. Well, I mean, actually, it's been a tough my entire life watching the Sabres, right? We've got to get a Stanley Cup. But I have this really good feeling about Lindy Ruff coming back to this team. He knows he kept a home here, even when he was, with Dallas and New Jersey. I think he knows how starved this area is. I really think he wants to bring at least playoff atmosphere for the Sabres. And so I'm really hoping for big things, even in his first year. And then the Bills, I've been a lifelong Bills fan for my entire life. And it's kind of fun. When I started at WBEN, and this would probably be back in the late 80s, they let me do a player profile in the Buffalo Bills pregame show on the radio network, so I was really excited about that. And, I can't think of names right now. I wasn't interviewing Thurman Thomas or anyone like that. It was more of the players you didn't know from that roster. And it was fun to get to know them and, ask them about, music and movies and, things other than the actual game. And I used to love that. But that was at a time when we were doing reel-to-reel tape decks, right? So I was editing by splicing and taping the interviews. It would take forever to put something together, but I love doing it.
Absolutely. And one thing I learned, Susan, recently, a few months ago, was learning how to edit video as well. So for me, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And editing video can be tedious, but it's something that you need to learn how to do.
Now, I don't know really how to do that except, a little bit of video on a, iPhone. What are you using?
Video AI. I can send you the link, but my friend who's a podcaster told me about this site. And Christmas Day, I must have spent 8 hours. I was frustrated at it, and then I finally picked up on it. And now every show I do here with all my guests, I break it down into 1 minute, 30-second clips. Because Susan, you know as well as I do, sometimes our society, they don't have an hour or 40 minutes to watch something. So we're in a very short attention span era. So I'm learning to go with the flow with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, even when I leave a report every day for the newsroom, I usually wrap something, a story. They're under a minute because people's attention spans are short. You got to get right to the point. So yeah, brevity is good. And how about the new Bills schedule, which is now out? A lot of people are buzzing about that today.
I was going to ask you about it. What is the mood generally in Buffalo right now with this team, with some of their free agent losses? And of course, I got to talk to you about Stephon Diggs being traded to Houston.
Yeah, well, here's the thing today about Diggs. I mean, that game, I'm trying to think which week it is, but it's a Sunday 1:00 game. Everybody's shocked that revenge game is Sunday at 1:00 and not more of a primetime game. So that's the number one thing there. I mean, that's definitely a game that's circled on the calendar. But then the next big one is the Chiefs when they come to Orchard Park for a regular season game. Now, the last time it happened was during COVID when there were now no fans in the stadium. We're very limited at the time. So it's been years since we had a full house at the stadium, rocking for the Bills over the Chiefs. And that's probably the number one game on my list this year.
Yeah, for me, being an Eagles fan, it's Dallas, obviously. But for the Bills, do you feel that this team can win without Diggs? And do you feel that their Super Bowl window hasn't closed yet?
I don't know. I feel like I need to see them in action. I need to see something before I'm ready to say, oh yeah, we're all good. I mean, Keon Coleman, great addition, but he hasn't done anything yet for the Bills. We haven't really seen him on the field. So it's always a gamble in that offseason, who you lose, who you pick up. So we'll have to see, but I'm still hopeful. I'm hopeful that Super Bowl window hasn't closed. I covered one of the Super Bowls that the Bills were in. It was the fourth Super Bowl. It was the game against
Dallas,
the Cowboys in Atlanta, and I got to cover that one. And fun experience. I think I was there for 4 or 5 days. You work your butt off all day long, and then you're so tired. But I mean, I had a blast. It was a great thing to cover. I don't remember the game so much because it wasn't a good game for the Bills, but 4 Super Bowls.
You'll never see that again. New England was close. New England went to 3 Super Bowls in a row, but as far as I'm concerned, those Bills teams in the 90s still were a dynasty because it's hard enough going to 1 Super Bowl.
Right.
But 4 years in a row is just amazing.
Right. 4 back-to-back appearances. I mean, yeah, it's too bad we didn't win one of them, but still, that's amazing. That really is amazing.
I still feel they should have won 2. The first one against the Giants and the last one against Dallas.
Yeah.
I think the last one against Dallas, if they didn't turn the ball over, I think they could have won that one in Atlanta, in my opinion.
See, there's that sports memory again that I just don't have. I don't really remember like why we lost that game, or I can't remember plays like that. And I love the fact that sports people like you can just recall that. Even though years ago.
what I love about sports, Susan, and you probably feel the same way. It doesn't matter about your politics or religion. Sports seems to draw everyone together.
I completely love that aspect about it because, to be honest with you, I hate politics. I can't stand it. I don't like how toxic it's become. But you're right. Sports is something that everybody can agree on. And I mean, there's nothing like a tailgate at the stadium, to bring people together.
How much do the Buffalo Bills mean to the city of Buffalo and the Western New York area?
I mean, they're huge for the fabric of this area. I mean, if we were ever to lose them, and there was a little bit of talk about that happening before Pagulas bought them. It would be devastating for this region to lose them. It really would. I mean, they're pretty much at the top of the list, as far as like a resource for this area or something to really boast about. It's the Bills are number one. It would be huge. It'd be devastating if we were ever to lose them.
Yeah, because when you talk to people about Buffalo, the first thing they think about is the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the weather sometimes, and
Weather
chicken
always
wings.
gets up there
And
too.
chicken wings, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Hey, Susan, since I got you on here, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions as well. I'm based out of Ontario, obviously Guelph, which isn't far from Buffalo. But can you tell my audience just a little bit about yourself and who were some of your earlier influences or mentors when first starting out in the radio industry?
All right. Well, I started out in 1986, so I'm getting to be a dinosaur here.
Same here.
But when I started at WBEN, Jim McLaughlin was the program director who took a chance on me. I was an intern. I was as green as they come, but he worked with me, and I mean, he was probably the number one mentor, in my career, I would say. He used to work at KB Radio. He was legendary around here, and he ran a really tight ship. I mean, he didn't want to mess up anything because you'd hear from him. But I mean, and here's another thing. He used to have me sing into a tape recorder because he said it would help develop your delivery. And I got to say, at the time, I was like, what? Sing? I would maybe sing to myself in the shower, but I'm not singing for anybody. Oh, I did it. And it did help, I think, with my delivery, because you don't want to be talking from up here. You want to be talking from, down here in the belly area. And I think that helped. But he worked with me and he would, go over, critique my interviews and newscasts. I mean, he did a lot for me. But at the time that I started, there were some real legends in the newsroom. Lou Douglas, Mark Leitner, Ed Little. They were there. John Murphy was there. And I just learned from all of them. And Sandy Beach, he is a guy who's larger than life. He came to WBEN. He used to be on Star 102, which was one of our FM stations. And then he came over to WBEN after he went to Milwaukee. And getting to know Sandy has been, he's one of my best friends in life and in this business. He's taught me so much too, because he's done everything. He's been a DJ, he's done talk shows. He's great at interviewing people as well. So, I mean, I wouldn't get anywhere without Sandy. And Kevin Keenan, too, is another person who's just been a major influence in my life. And Brian Meyer. These are all people who worked for the station and really helped me get to where I am today. I wouldn't be anywhere without them.
I wanted Susan ask you also how important is volunteering and the internships in terms of establishing yourself in this industry?
Volunteering, like interning, are you saying?
Doing internships or volunteering. Like I've done some volunteer work with a cable company as a camera operator as well.
Oh, okay. Internships are huge. And it doesn't seem like today we're getting the intern requests that we used to get. And I feel like that people aren't considering radio, but radio isn't just the radio station. It's everything. It's all the digital platforms. I mean, we're not just a radio station. We are everywhere. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We're just about everywhere. And I feel like if you're in taking broadcast classes in broadcast journalism, you shouldn't discount this business, because the other thing is we're immediate. If something is breaking, we can be on the air faster than a TV station can be on the air. You get callers to call in, and you get somebody on the scene and they're on the phone, and we have access units that you can sound even better. We're very immediate, and I think that is maybe the best asset for radio, but we're far from just a radio station. So internships, though, if I hadn't done an internship, who knows what I'd be doing today? Probably not this.
As for radio industry in Canada, obviously we don't have as many companies as you guys do with Rogers and Bell. It's kind of being downsized here. But long term, Susan, do you feel the radio industry is still very much viable going into the future?
I do. Now, I'm saying this, I work for a company that is in bankruptcy proceedings right now, believe it or not. But we actually just met with our corporate leadership team yesterday, and they're assuring us that we're coming out of bankruptcy possibly as early as July or as late as September of this year, and we're going to be much stronger than we ever were. So, it's not something that you want to go through, but it didn't affect me in any way. Nothing happened. Nobody was asked to take a pay cut or anything like that. They have to restructure their debt, and it looks like it's going to work out. But so hopefully, I would say, and digital is the way of the future. I mean, I think the years are short where you're going to be just listening on a radio anymore to a station. I think it's all streaming. I stream all the time when I'm not here. And I love listening to other stations around the country too.
That's amazing too. Yes, absolutely. Susan, how hard was the radio industry especially in your area, Buffalo? How hard was it hit with the pandemic for a couple of years there?
Yeah, it was rough. Our radio station here was like a ghost town. I mean, we have offices, it's kind of a sprawling place because we have WGR, we had Star 102.5, WBEN, ESPN radio was on the KB 1520, KISS 98.5, and The Wolf, a country station. We're all located in the same building. And so there were a lot of people that worked here, promotions, sales, management. And then COVID hits, and everyone was told to work from home unless you needed to come into work. Well, I came into work every day, but some days I'd see 5 people here. It took some time to adjust to that. Now they're back, but they're still not back fully 5 days a week. You see salespeople here a couple days a week. So it's still a little bit different in our building. But all the on-air people are here. Occasionally they're out, but you can do a show from anywhere, just like you. They sound like they're here. It's the next best thing.
Absolutely. What makes Buffalo such a great broadcasting town, TV-wise and radio-wise?
I don't know. I don't know. But when I grew up here, I was listening to this station, to WBEN. I was listening to KB. The AMs ruled way back when, and now it's, it's the FMs seem to be more of a place. I wish we were on FM, but to be honest with you, with streaming now, I don't even really care if we go to FM. I think, that is the way of the future. But there's always been a great talent pool here. There really has, and I really don't know why.
I've been really lucky. Like I've had Sal Capaccio, Howard Simon on my show, a lot of great guys. By the way, I wanted to mention this to you. I was reading in your bio, Susan. I want to say congratulations on being introduced into the Buffalo Broadcasting Association's Hall of Fame in 2022. And can you just tell us a bit how that came about and how much that meant to you for your career?
Oh, wow. You know what? It means a whole lot, I got to say. But I was absolutely stunned that I was being considered for it. I really had no expectation of that. I'd say that there were a lot of other people I would put first. That was just truly an exciting year. So that was 2 years ago that happened. And I mean, it was great. You're out, a very nice evening out. All your peers are there. Everybody in media is there. And it's an amazing feeling that that you've been selected for that, I have to say. And then the following year, so last year, my husband was also inducted into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, and so that was, so it was back-to-back years for us, and that was very special too, I have to say.
I was gonna say that's just amazing. And when you go into any career, you're not thinking of Hall of Fame, but it's just such an accomplishment to be recognized for your years of work in the industry.
Right. Or you think it's something that you get at the end of your working career. I wasn't ready to leave, and I'm still not.
Just quick thoughts on Jackie Walker and her 40-year career with WIVB.
She is a gem. She's a real treasure in Western New York. 40 years here. WBEN used to be in the same building as Channel 4 when I started back.
And I know that.
Right. And so I would see Jackie, kind of regularly. And I mean, she's just an awesome person to know, just so genuine. She really is. And I bet it was hard. I'm guessing it's probably hard for her right now, is knowing that she's in her final week. But I know she's going to continue to contribute with special projects and things she's going to do for the station. So she's been just incredible for Channel 4. She really has.
What are some of the biggest differences between TV and radio? And did you ever thought about switching over to the TV side at some point?
I did at one time. But I have to say, the thing that I enjoy most about radio is that you do everything yourself. You're not relying really on a producer. Maybe a board operator, to make sure your microphone is turned on. But I mean, your interviews, your writing, your questions, everything, you're doing yourself. You're not depending on somebody else. And that's what I enjoy most about radio. It really is. And now TV, you've got, well, I was going to say you have a cameraman, but a lot of times they're backpack journalists now. They do their own, video. But I think, they have producers that are telling them the stories to do. We decide our own stories. We're not, there's just a lot of hands in the pot in TV where there isn't in radio.
I've seen that doing some camera work where the TV production it's just, and I find with TV production, everything's more of a go. Radio, you seem to have a little more flexibility from what I've seen.
There's a lot of flexibility in radio, and that's definitely a bonus. Really, radio, the immediacy of radio, the flexibility of it, it's all great.
What has been some of your, I'm going to reword this question. I was going to say favorite, but I've learned how to ad-lib here. What have been some of your most memorable interviews and stories in your career so far at WBEN 930?
Oh, wow. we do so many interviews, but let me try to remember some of the more famous ones. We interviewed Jimmy Carter, the former president, at one time. That was fun. That was when he had a book that was out. It was well after his presidency. He's, such a interesting person too, because he wasn't well liked while he was the president, but he's done such great work, humanitarian work, since the presidency, that he is very well liked, by people of, both parties. We're talking about that, toxic political climate. Jimmy Carter is really well liked. That was a fun interview. Tim Russert is kind of like he's been a Buffalo ambassador. He did Meet the Press for years, right?
Yes.
He was from Buffalo, South Buffalo specifically, South Buffalo Irish Catholic family. We interviewed Tim Russert shortly before his sudden passing. And that's another interview that will kind of stand out with me, because he's just a great person. I just love sometimes to get to know people and bring out something that, you never thought about before with them, and just maybe how caring they are about certain things. It's always nice to be able to expose something like that. I'm trying to think who else. We've had a lot of Bills and Sabres players in over the years too, and that's always great. I mean, Jim Kelly, all that he's been through. Rasmus Dahlin, it was fun to have him in our studio when just shortly after the Sabres got him, and what a whirlwind for him. He, at his age, coming over here and becoming a Sabre, that's kind of a cool thing. And I'm trying to think. A lot of Bills, they used to, after the NFL draft, the Bills used to fly the player that they drafted, like their number one pick. They'd fly him overnight, and they would be on the radio stations the next morning, on WGR and WBEN. Remember, what's his name? Manuel, right?
EJ Manuel, right?
Yeah. He was one that was flown in. Sammy Watkins was flown in, and those were kind of cool to do those interviews, I have to say.
For those watching or listening, Susan, or even for someone like me, what advice would you give to somebody for doing interviews, either virtually like this or in person?
I'm telling you again, the number one thing, and I would tell this to any student too, listen to what they're saying, because if you don't listen, you can't possibly do a good interview. Just so many times, even people that start in our newsroom, they're not listening to the interviews. They're so busy preparing questions, and then they go through their questions and they're done, and then they have to go back and listen. But you can come up with better questions if you're listening to the person you're talking to. That is my number one.
And that's why I love this show, because every time I have a guest on, I learn something new from them as well.
Me too. And you always learn something. I feel like this is an extension of school.
And I've learned to think on my feet too, by the way, Susan. I wanted to ask you this as well. What makes Buffalo such a great place to live and work? And a lot of former professional athletes seem to love the area.
Yeah, they stay, right?
Yes.
I think it's because it's a small, big city. It's not, there's traffic tie-ups here and there, but nothing like a big city.
Like Toronto or New York.
Yeah, you can get anywhere around here in about 20 minutes. That's nice. The city itself is really resurging. Suburbs, a lot of people love living in Buffalo suburbs. or living on the water, or on our waterfront. It's just, despite the fact that we have winter, and we do, we've had some pretty nasty blizzards. Um, they're short-lived. When you watch the news, I mean, lately, these tornadoes that are just ripping apart places down south, that would be just horrible to go through something like that. And that really doesn't happen here. I mean, you can stock up and survive a blizzard pretty easily in Western New York. I wouldn't want to live with that threat of a hurricane or a tornado, and some of the blistering heat too in some other places. It's just a nice place to live, and it's a great place to raise a family. I've got 2 kids that we've raised here, and both of them now are out of college, and they're both living. One's living in the city of Buffalo, and the other's in a Southtown suburb. So they choose to live here, at least for now. We'll see what happens there, but it is a great place.
Absolutely. And also, there's a lot of great places to eat in the area. And I read on your bio, I'm guilty of this too. I'm a huge shopper. So when I come over to the States, I always like to go shopping. But I wanted to ask you this. What's your thoughts on the reduction of shopping malls? It seems like everything is now in strip malls or online shopping.
It really has changed so much just in the last couple of years, right? I mean, there's the Walden Galleria is really the only true mall experience that's left. They're converting the Eastern Hills Mall, the Boulevard Mall, into lifestyle centers. So yeah, the shopping is definitely different. But now my favorite place to shop is it's in Amherst on Niagara Falls Boulevard, where
Yes.
you're shaking your head. You must know. You've got TJ Maxx and Home Goods, Home Sense, Sierra. I mean, you can't lose with those stores. That's fun. But I do have to say, I do a lot of online shopping. It's just the way it's going.
I do a little bit as well, but when I want clothes, I still like to try them on in person, especially with shoes and stuff like that.
Right.
Plus, I know things in Western New York have gone up over the years. It's just like it is here in Ontario, but you guys still have a little more choice than what we do in Ontario.
Yeah, I mean, we do have still some good choices left, and you're right. I'm the same way, especially when it comes to clothing. You want to feel it, you want to try it on if you can.
Absolutely. Susan, do you have a couple more minutes for a couple more questions?
Sure.
Okay. I wanted to, I guess the second year anniversary came up. Just thoughts on the massive shooting that happened May 14th, 2022 in Buffalo at the Tops there.
Yeah, that affected everybody in Western New York, whether they live in the city or the East Side or not. I mean, that was such a dark day, but it also was a day that I think the city really showed its strength coming back from that event. I remember it was a Saturday, and my husband and I were at our boat working on it, getting it ready for the season, and got a call that there was a shooting at a grocery store on the East Side. And then it became a mass shooting. Well, I mean, we were there as soon as we could. And I mean, I'll never forget those images that I saw that day, the hurt on faces from the East Side. And it was just a terrible, terrible event. And then we went through, the shooter being in court. And now, we're waiting for this death penalty trial to begin. So this is not going away anytime soon. Plus, the families all have civil suits. They're suing social media because the shooter, they really feel became radicalized through social media. And, they're suing the gun manufacturers. And I mean, we're going to be living with this for a long time. But the thing about this year that was really interesting was the grocery store where this happened, they unveiled a memorial to the victims. And it was really kind of kept under wraps until the anniversary on Tuesday of this week. And it's a beautiful memorial that's right in the parking lot of the store. It's kind of almost like a park setting with, benches and the names of the victims. I don't think anybody will forget the 10 names from that tragedy. But that was a great thing. And the governor was here, and city officials talking about the next steps in getting a permanent memorial off-site somewhere else for the victims and their families too. So I feel like we've taken a big step on this second anniversary, but it really shows the resilience of this community.
How important is it to have a strong support system, obviously being in radio and TV, because you guys deal with a lot of news, and not all of it's positive, a lot of it's bad. And how important is it to have a strong support system at work and at home with your family?
Yeah, I mean, that is huge. And we do have a great support system here at work. I mean, we're a team, we all care about each other, and especially after that shooting. I mean, we had to check on each other and make sure everybody's, okay, because they were dark days. It was tough to cover that event, but it's great to be able to go home, after something like that. But you take those stories with you too. So it's kind of like you talk about those stories when you get home. And in fact, my kids, it's one of those things that it just stays with you. But I feel like talking about it is kind of like therapy.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you something else, but I forgot it. I should have wrote it down. Oh yeah, now I remember, Susan. Now I remember. How important has it been over the years to take a little time for yourself and not get burnt out in the industry?
Oh, vacations? Yeah. You got to you've got to take vacations, and I think we're all good at doing that here. I don't know anyone who, doesn't take a vacation, but yeah, it's very important. We have a sailboat, my husband and I, and that's kind of like our go-to way, away place. Just leave work, go to the boat, and you can recharge, kind of relax, and it's nice.
People don't realize this about Buffalo. They always think about the winter, the snow, but in the summertime, you guys have great waterfront.
We do. I mean, our waterfront really is coming beautifully, and pretty soon we're going to have LaSalle Park in the city. They're transforming that right now into Ralph Wilson Park.
Technology there. Are you back, Susan?
Yeah, I'm back. I just saw you freeze up there for a second. Yeah, we've got a beautiful waterfront, and in the next couple of years, Ralph Wilson Park, it's the former LaSalle Park, will be coming to life. And that's a huge park for the city, almost downtown. And it's going to have a pedestrian walkway for the people on the west side to be able to access it. It's going to really be a massive park that, will be kind of new to us again, because it's really been dormant for several years. But we've got that. We've got the outer harbor, canal side. It's a really fun place to be. And I feel like in the next few years, cruise ships might stop here in Buffalo. I mean, they usually skip Buffalo. They go from, maybe Cleveland to Niagara Falls, Ontario, or even Toronto, and they kind of bypass Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to get a shot at this, become a port in the next few years, which will help the waterfront.
What's one word to describe to Buffalo?
Wait, say that again.
I'll reword it. What's one word that would describe the city of Buffalo?
Strong.
Buffalo.
You're freezing up again.
I apologize. Sorry about that. Nope. I have an Ethernet connection, so I technology sometimes it does happen. I'm just hoping we can wrap this up, Susan. Before we wrap this up, can you just tell us about your role as the co-anchor on a new morning show on WBEN 9:30 from 5 to 9 a.m. weekdays, and just a little bit about your co-host and your upcoming shows coming up?
All right. So Brian Mazurowski and I have been working together since I think 2016. Um, and when you work side by side with a co-host, you really get to know each other. Hand signals, or even just looking, at just looking at him in the eye, you can kind of give yourself, what he's going to do. He knows what I'm going to do. So you really you work closely. Before Brian, I worked with John Zach, who was another legendary Buffalo radio news anchor. And we come in the morning right around 4 and start writing stories that we have planned from the day before that our reporters are leaving for us, plus any breaking overnight news. And we see what's going on around the country and the world, and what's important to let Buffalo listeners know when they wake up. So we're kind of writing. We're not ready to go at 5 o'clock. We go on the air, but we're still writing even as we're on the air. So it's a really fast morning, and we start doing interviews live at 6 a.m. and they could be anything, from Buffalo to Texas or California. You never know what we're going to do. That's what I love about it. You don't know what the news is for the next day until it's the next day. And I always say we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants, but we are. And usually turns into a pretty good show when we're done. And like you said, you learn something every day as you go on. So we're on the air until 9, and then I jump off the air. Brian stays on for another hour and does a talk show with Joe Beamer, one of our favorite producers here. But I go back into the newsroom and I start working on a story from earlier in the morning that I can kind of wrap up and leave for the web and put on social media, and then leave some wrap on the air too. And then at about 10 o'clock, we're planning out the next day. So trying to fill, about 6 live interview slots and assigning reporters their stories for both today and tomorrow. It's kind of busy, but it's also a lot of fun. And then sometimes you have a great plan, and then there's breaking news, and you throw the plan right out the window and you start fresh the next morning. So you never know what you're going to get.
Any advice for those that are learning to do digital writing? I am doing that now with the Bisons and Bandits, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on some advice you'd have for people that are getting into that.
I try to keep things concise because I think people are always in a hurry. And for me, I just like to... It looks like you froze up again.
Okay. Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
We're back.
I like to be concise. I feel like people are in a hurry and they need to get to know something quickly when you're writing a story. And I don't bury the details to the end. I kind of keep them all up front. And I don't like to go too long because I just don't think attention spans are there. So, there's certain times where you want to write a really longer story, and that's great, but not always. So it just kind of depends on the story.
And finally, I'm reading this up on you too, Susan. I like to do my homework. How did that event? Were you at the Erie County SBC event at the Key Bank Center the other day?
I didn't. We promoted it, but I was not there. So I can't really say. But I'm a huge supporter of the Erie County SPCA, and they do such great things. They got Wine and Wags coming up, which is in June, and Paws in the Park is another great event that you bring your dog to. And for the first year, it's going to be at Knox Farm in East Aurora rather than Beaver Island on Grand Island. But they do really wonderful things. They don't get any government funding, and that's why we do a lot to promote them, and they're just a great organization.
Absolutely. And I do volunteer work with a local humane society here as a dog walker and fundraiser, and any pet I've ever had, I've always adopted it. And I always tell people adopt, don't shop.
Yes. Yes. There's always so many great animals, whether it's a dog or a cat or a bunny, or they have guinea pigs, they've got reptiles. My family, my son adopted when he was about 10, a gecko, a leopard spotted gecko. And we had him for, I'm going to say, at least 12 years, I think. So you never know what you're going to go home with from the SPCA.
Absolutely. And finally, Susan, we're going to wrap this up. What's one quick fun fact about yourself? And again, where can my audience follow you on social media and your morning show with Brian on WBEN 930?
A fun fact about myself. I just don't know if the people know that I do love to shop. I love to sail. I love my family and my radio family too. And you can find me at Susan WBEN on Twitter. I'm Susan Rose Wenger on Facebook. And, oh, God, on Instagram, I think I'm Susan WBEN as well.
I will look for you on Instagram as well.
All right.
All right, Susan. Hey, I want to apologize for keeping you over an hour, but I want to say thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I will send you an audio and video copy of our show later on with a couple of clips if you'd like to share on your social media pages as well.
Cool. Okay. Hey, great. I didn't realize it was over an hour. Wow, it went fast.
Hey, when you're having great conversations with your guests, time just by quick.
It does. Well, Chris, great meeting you.
And I will be back in your city Saturday for the Bandits game. And before I let you go, best place for chicken wings in Buffalo.
Okay.
I do
I'm
like
going to
my wings.
I'm not going to answer Anchor Bar. Okay. I'm going to say it's either Duff's or oh my gosh, I'm at a loss. It's in East Aurora. Sorry. Let me answer that again. I might surprise you by not answering by saying Anchor Bar. I mean, I'm sure they're good. And I've been to the Anchor Bar. They are good. But I feel like Bar Bill in East Aurora or Duff's in Amherst, those are the best.
Duff's, they've had the other place in East Aurora. I'll have to check them out.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Susan, I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. I will definitely try to tune in online tomorrow with your interview with John Gerkler from the Buffalo Bandits. And you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future as well.
Okay, great, Chris. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Susan. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed season 8, episode 13, overall 398 today with Susan Rose, a longtime radio personality with WBEN 930 in Buffalo, New York. And you can catch her morning show weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. with her co-anchor, Brian Molzer-Whiskey as well. And again, I want to say thank you to Susan for coming on. And before we wrap up this show today, guys, Susan Rose did an interview last week with a longtime Buffalo broadcaster and now former Bills broadcaster, play-by-play announcer John Murphy. And I'm going to share an audio clip of her interview with John Murphy, courtesy of Odyssey and WBEN 930. Here's Susan Rose with John Murphy on why he's stepping down as the play-by-play announcer for the Buffalo Bills.
Here we are. When I met you, you were doing news on WBEN.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a long time
ago, more than almost 4 years ago, really.
Right. That was the first time I met you. And then I stayed in news. You went off to sports and
all kinds of great,
all kinds of great things went your success. I mean, it's like it's been in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. I've been really lucky, I have an opportunity to do the Bills for 19 years. And they've been great. I've been extremely lucky, very, very lucky.
Yeah. All right. So In the last 16 months, your life has taken a detour.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. Tell us about that journey and where you are now. How's your recovery going from the stroke?
It's good. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight. I work out every day. I feel good. I just can't talk, and that's what's holding me back from being on the radio. I just can't talk, and it wouldn't be fair. I thought I might make it back last year and didn't, and I tried again this year, and not going to happen. So the it's slow progress, but it's progress, and hopefully, by September I'm able to talk a little bit.
So you say it wouldn't be fair. Wouldn't be fair for what?
Well, the people who want to, it wouldn't be fair to do the Bills game,
So are you stepping away then from the Bills broadcast booth?
Yes, for good. I missed last year, and then I missed this year. It's too much to miss.
How hard was that decision?
It's hard. I wasn't that hard until the last day or two. I began to think about all the things I would miss. I'll miss some people. First of all, the great people that work for the Bills and have worked for the Bills over the years. I miss working with them. The great people at GR Radio and working with them. I miss the people more than anything.
The decision, did you make it on your own? Did you have help making the decision?
Yeah, I talked to my wife, Mary, about it, and she agreed. She's, if you don't like it and if you're feeling like you're being compromised, don't do it. And I think they kind of carried the day. I just felt like it's too much. I'm not making good enough progress to come back full the way I want to do it and the way I want to be.
It sounds like you made it maybe a few days ago or maybe longer. Are you kind of at peace with it?
Yeah, I am. Probably the last month or so. Just things that are going on, and here comes a new season already, and it comes up fast. And it just wouldn't do me any good to try to come on and do it halfway. I can't do it that way.
And your recovery is still going on, right? I mean,
yeah.
Do you think you'll be doing, more recovery as this time passes?
Yeah, I think so. I think by September, I hope to provide editorial comment in the booth, the radio booth in September for home games and maybe road games too. But only if my voice is better, But I hope, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, my recovery continues slowly, but it continues.
And you're continuing with the speech therapy?
Yes, twice a week. And I got a program, Brain HQ, to help with my cognitive deficiencies, and it does help. It's a hard test, and doing speech therapy and a little bit of occupational therapy.
Right. So stepping away doesn't mean retirement necessarily. I'm guessing it almost sounds like you still want to do some work.
Yeah, I don't know what, and I'm going to give myself until maybe the first of next year before I'm fully back. But I think I'm going to step away and really concentrate on my recovery, and then get to work on doing something else, whatever it may be.
Any idea how you could continue to contribute
on the radio?
In any way with the Bills? I mean, you've been such a part of it for so long.
Yeah. No, I don't have any ideas on that. I'm open for suggestions, but I don't have any ideas.
All of this, does it kind of make you reprioritize what's going on in life when something like this happens?
Yes. I mean, I have 2 grandchildren now. I have the area, and I enjoy them a great deal. I enjoy my grandchildren a great deal. And if nothing else, I'll spend more time with them.
I look back and you've done everything. I was thinking you've done Bison's baseball, you've done basketball games, Bills football, you've had your own show, radio, TV, you're an author. Do you have any regrets on all you've done?
I wish I hadn't done something else. No, I have no regrets on what I've done. I mean, I could have done something else, I think, but I think I made the right choice in getting into broadcasting.
You're a natural, I think a lot of people would say. And for more than 2 decades, you've been the soundtrack of Bills broadcasts, right?
Yeah.
And you're also kind of the link to legend Van Miller.
Yeah. That's important, I think, to be close to identify with Van, to work with Van for 16 years before I took over the play. I mean, I understand what the job is. I understand how to do the job right, I think. and not like band right away, but after a while, you know, you have your own pace and your own systems, and I think I carry it pretty well.
What advice would you have for your successor?
My advice would be just to work at it. You know, I mean, I worked even 2 years ago, last season I was working 7 or 8 or 9 hours a week getting ready for the game, you know, and then watch a ton of video here in here, watch on the screen and watch 3 or 4 games of the opponents, watch the Bills game over again. And that helps a lot. Just to work at it, you know, just don't think you're mailing in because you're the voice of the Bills. Work at it, you know.
You've always shown that. You've always demonstrated how knowledgeable you are for every game. You've always been so prepared. So in the past season, when you had to sit back, when you didn't have that front row seat, how hard is it to be in this new position?
It sucks. It's terrible. But you know, I wanted to be part of it. I'm glad I went. I'm glad to go again. They'll have me. But it's hard, you know, and you hear it and you think of what maybe what you would have done differently, but you can't do it. You know, you just accept what's on the air.
You know, thousands of broadcasts you've done, thousands of games, I think, and you add them up over these years, and especially with the Bills. Do 1 or 2 games stand out to you?
Well, the most memorable Bills game was a playoff game a couple years ago in Kansas City when they had a lead with 13 seconds left and lost, and that was a tough game to take. It was so momentous. I didn't really accept what it meant until it took me a day or two. I came home and watched the tape, and I realized, oh my God, they lost that game because it was back and forth. There was game-winning touchdown for Mahomes and game-winning touchdown for Josh, and back and forth. And in the end, Kansas City won, but it didn't hit me until a couple of days later that they lost that game. That was probably the biggest shock and the most memorable game I did.
Yeah. You know, if the Bills do go to the Super Bowl again, will you be there?
I don't know. I think they'll go. I think in the next couple of years they'll go. Maybe not this year, but they'll be there. You know, with Josh, they can do anything. You know, they'll build around Josh. Maybe take a half a setback this year, but I think they'll be okay. I think that with Josh, you can do anything you want.
You know, Murph, stroke occurs very often, too often, really. What message do you have for people that are going through this like you?
Hang in there, you know, keep working, figure out what you want to do. Might not be exactly what you want to do, but do something else. I mean, you know, I'm lucky that I have such a great family and so many good friends that keep me motivated to work. And I work, you know, and just because my family and friends tell me to, I work at it.
Will you continue to be in the broadcast booth? It wouldn't be a home Bills game without you in there.
It will, but I hope so. We'll see. I hope to contribute in some way to the broadcast.
Now, you brought so much joy to Bills fans.
Thanks.
Thank you for all you've done, and it's not goodbye, Murph. It's just see you around, right?
Right. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the Bills fans too. It's been great.
That clip was courtesy of Odyssey and WBEN 930 and One Bills Live. That was my guest, Susan Rose, from last week, interviewing John Murphy, the longtime play-by-play analyst for the Buffalo Bills, and also a longtime broadcaster in the city of Buffalo. So thank you again to Odyssey and WBEN 930 for letting me play that audio interview with Susan Rose and John Murphy. Speaking of radio, next live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, Monday, May 20th, on the Victoria Day holiday here in Canada at 6 p.m. Eastern, with my special guest, Barbara Campos, her second time on my show. She is now a full-time Director of Communications at the Center for Survivors of Torture, CTS, and the Austin, Dallas, Texas area. As a hybrid, she's going to tell us a little bit more about her role. And Barbara Campos is also a former reporter with Telemundo Austin and CBS Austin as well. So I'm excited to have my friend and guest Barbara Campos back on live with CDP Monday, May 20th, Victoria Day holiday here in Canada at 6 p.m. Eastern. As always, guys, just 1 second. I'm just going to put up what I usually do. Here we go. Cambridge, I'm going to start over again, guys. I do volunteer work as a dog walker fundraiser for the Cambridge and District Humane Society, and they are located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. You can call them at 519-623-7722 or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. If you're looking to volunteer or to donate food, cambridgehumanesociety.org, or just drop by the shelter as well. They have some great dogs down there like Elvis the Basset Hound, Cleo, Clifford, Rosemary. You can see all their profiles on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And to me, if you're looking for a furry friend and a forever home, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society, again at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge. All their information is on the ticker. And they are doing a 50-50 monthly draw there. If you're interested in buying a ticket and supporting the shelter and their programs for the animals, you can get their tickets through the office at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, or again, cambridgehumanesociety.org to get tickets and more information about their fundraiser. Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme. Is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website to listen to the Rod Peterson Show from 12 to 2 or mine from 8 to 9 is WQEEFM.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Check out my Instagram page at Chris Palme as well. By the way, guys, I am on Cameo. If you're looking for a personalized video message from me, pep talk, birthday wishes, want to ask me questions about my radio show and my media work, click on cameo.com, in Chris Palme. Video for you as well, and all proceeds from my videos will go to my radio and media work. So again, check out Chris Live with CDP at cameo.com. You can also, guys, check out my website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my social media sites, digital work is on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the D. Guys, I apologize for the technical difficulty as we're wrapping up this show. It's just an issue with the Wi-Fi. But again, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet for a 2024 Silverado 1500 RST pickup truck. 0% financing for up to 60 months. Eligible Costco members can receive up to a $1,200 bonus on select trucks. More details at barrycullen.com. Finally, guys, you guys can listen to Live with CDP Sports Talk on these platforms. You can listen to it on you can listen to my show on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts for now, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, and Live with CDP Sports Talk is now available on YouTube Music. It is no longer available on Radio Public. So Live with CDP Sports Talk is now available on YouTube Music. Finally, guys, you can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback would be greatly appreciated as well. And before we wrap up this show, guys, we have NBA action tonight. The world champion Denver Nuggets are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 6 of their West semifinals. The Nuggets have won. Pardon me, guys, I'm still battling a cold. The Nuggets have won 3 straight games to go up 3-2, and they have a chance to get back to the Western Conference Finals with a win tonight against Minnesota in Game 6. Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. We've got the Rangers in Carolina, Game 6. Can Carolina win a 3rd straight game and force a Game 7 back at Madison Square Gardens? And the late game tonight is going to be the Edmonton Oilers, Vancouver Canucks, the Battle of Canada. They're tied 2 games apiece after the Oilers' 3-2 late win against the Canucks the other night. This is Game 5 going on in Vancouver tonight as well. And that's about it. I want to say thank you again to my guest, Susan Rose from WBEN 930 in Buffalo, New York, for coming on here today. And I also want to wish everybody a happy Victoria Day holiday, Monday, May 20th here in Canada as well. And again, my next show is Monday, May 20th, 6 p.m. with Barbara Campbells, who's a former reporter and anchor with CBS News in Austin, Texas as well. And also, guys, Toronto Argonauts have open practices right now at the University of Guelph. If you're interested in going down there, check out Mike Hogan's Twitter X page. Mike Hogan, who's the play-by-play announcer for the Argos, is their manager of media communications, and Mike has their scheduled times on his X Twitter page. And the Argonauts are doing a double blue scrimmage game this Monday, May 20th, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And also, guys, check out my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe, like notification, and check out my 2 interviews this week I did with Zach Peterson, a wide receiver from Michigan, who was with the Argos at their training camp recently. And also I interviewed linebacker from Illinois, and he tried out for the Detroit Lions last year, Isaac Darkangelo, who's from Brighton, Michigan. So check out my Toronto Argonaut interviews on my YouTube channel. And also, guys, before we wrap this up, I will be off to Buffalo, New York this Saturday, May 18th, to the KeyBank Center for the National Lacrosse League Finals between the Albany Firewolves, Buffalo Bandits, Game 2. And the first game of that series is Friday night, 7 o'clock. You can watch on TSN here in Canada, or you can listen on WGR 550 with John Gerkler, Steve Bermel, and Dave Buchanan with the call for the Bandits on the radio broadcast. And TSN, it'll be Pat Gregor, John Abbott, and Brianne Foley as well. That's about it. I want to say thank you again to Susan Rose from WBEN 930 in Buffalo for coming on today. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed on audio platforms, as well as radio station WQEE 99.1 FM and Barry Cullen Chevrolet. We'll hope you guys all have a great long weekend. Enjoy the sports events, and make sure you check out my social media pages this Saturday night and Sunday for pictures, videos, and some post-game interviews with John Tavares and a couple of members of the Buffalo Bandits as well. Thank you again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk. We'll see you back here Monday night, 6 p.m. with my guest, Barbara Campbells.